Okay, so my next story is about prayer. And I can tell you, with everything I know in my heart, prayer changes things. Think about it. Daily prayer puts us in contact, in connection with God each and every day, intentionally. Do you know, in your generation, the things that young people say that they fear most is that they won't ever be loved fully, unconditionally. And they fear being alone. Prayer changes that. When you're talking to God, you're never alone. I want to share with you a prayer that I have said every single day since October of 1994. God, help me help you. It was after the birth of my first daughter, McKenna. I actually graduated here in 2017. And I was so overwhelmed with happiness and gratitude at the gift of this baby that I just wanted to thank God, and I wanted to do something for God. So every day I would say, God, help me help you. And I was also in touch with Father Janine, who I just spoke about, and I said I would be frustrated, and I would say, I'm talking to God, and I want God to kind of tell me what he wants me to do. And he said, be patient. Well, the next thing you know, I'm pregnant with Maddie. They're a year apart. And I'm continuing to say, God, help me help you. God, help me help you. I have Maddie. And then, God, help me help you. And then I have Emma. God, help me help you. I think my husband was like, stop saying that prayer. And he said, don't you think there's a connection between you helping God and you actually having all these girls? And anyway, I kept saying the prayer. I'm telling you, when you turn your prayer to God, for God, it not only changes your life, it changes other people's lives. That prayer helped our family start Spread the Bread, and which you can learn about online. It's a grassroots bread spreading organization, again, born out of a prayer. The anti-bullying and the Misfit Sock came out of that prayer. I prayed, God, help me help you. When I was home with the girls, raising our 4 daughters and thinking about coming back to Boston College, in my mind saying, gosh, if I could come back to BC, I would love to work at the Church in the 21st Century Center. God, help me help you. Bingo, I got the job. And then my work here at the center, God, help me help you, has been all for God. Agape Latte, help me help you. Help us help you spread this. The programs that we do, the work that we do, the people that we meet. God, help me help you. Say that prayer. Make up your own prayer. Have your daily mantra. How many seconds does it take? 5 to say hello to God. Because when you ask God to help him, he will help you help him. I can tell you that. Most recently, I have an example of that happened last year. I happened to be at the Stop and Shop, which I go to often, go grocery shopping, and I was in the produce section, and I overheard 2 little kids, and they were talking. And one little kid says to the other little kid, my mother says that you shouldn't talk about God in school because it makes people feel uncomfortable. And I was like, what? And it reminded me of the days when my kids were in elementary school, and they basically said, we can't celebrate birthdays anymore. There's no more cupcakes, no more sugar, no more whatever. And I thought, oh my goodness, what have we come to? I couldn't believe these kids had said that. And it stuck with me. And I kept praying the prayer to God, God, help me help you. We got to figure this out. We can't have kids not talking about God in school. So one morning, it was a Sunday morning, my husband went to go play golf, and which he doesn't do enough. And not that I want him to leave me, but so I was all alone, which I'm never alone. And I started to write this story. And the story was about a little girl who's inspired to draw like Picasso after she goes to a visit to the art museum. And she runs back home and she thinks, I want to draw something beyond spectacular. What could that be? And then she decides it's God. And so she goes into her bedroom and she starts to draw God. And she draws a picture of a beautiful sun. And it's so bright, her cheeks are throbbing. And then she goes into school and she says to her friends, look, I drew God. And they're looking at her like she's crazy. You drew a sun. She goes back home. She decides she's going to draw bread because her mother bakes bread. And bread reminds her of God. Sure enough, she takes the picture back. Her friends think she's nuts again because it's a picture of a loaf of bread, not God. So she goes back home. She prays to God, help me, help them see you. And she decides to draw a picture of a heart because God is love. So God is light, God is bread, God is love. And she goes back to school, and now everyone learns about her God drawings, and they're like, Emma, God's not a Valentine, and you're crazy. So she goes back home, and she prays again to God, and she just said, please help me. Please help me. Let them see you. And sure enough, the next morning, she wakes up, and she decides she doesn't care what anyone thinks. She knew she drew God. God knew she drew God, maybe Picasso too. And she goes back into school, expecting everyone to be making fun of her. And she goes back in, and every kid in the school is drawing God, and every picture is different. So that's the story. I wrote it on a Sunday morning. That was God working. We got it, sent it out to a publisher, and now it's being published in October. Trust me. I dabble in children's books. It takes me so long to write them. That was the answer to a prayer. And now, hopefully, the book will come out, and it will get lots more kids talking and drawing about God. That was a prayer answered, because prayer changes things. Don't underestimate it, guys. Life is hard. You got a lot going on, and you've got so many gifts. Ask God to help. Ask God to help share. We're all in this together, and we believe in the power of you. Believe in the power of God.